Warning: this video contains some gameplay spoilers. So here we are once again, tramping through the knee-deep dump slurry of the gaming industry, like a group of drunken, bewildered sewage maintenance workers who have got lost in the dark, desperately hunting around in a seemingly never-endless sea of shit, trying to find an escape. But before we advance down this grim tunnel of filth and corruption, I need to offer a correction regarding Bethesda's toxic helmets, which I discussed in my previous video. Many thanks to one of my Patreon supporters, Archangel, and also several viewers who pointed out the counter-narrative regarding the Nuka-Cola death helmet scandal. Sorry, nobody has apparently died yet. But I digress. It appears the initial reports of this incident, which I rolled with, made no distinction between the Power Armor Edition helmet and the Nuka-Cola helmet. The Collector's Edition helmet was not mouldy, but did come in a bin bag. The Nuka-Cola helmet sold by GameStop was mouldy, but at least did not come in a bin bag. The US company Chronicle Collectibles made the Nuka mouldy helmet, and I have to take it on faith that they didn't quickly subcontract it to a Chinese company, because frankly I can't believe they actually made 20,000 units of fucking anything outside of a Far Eastern sweatshop in the current economic climate. So yeah, my guess is that these were outsourced. And I said guess. Only 32 were apparently sold before the recall, and all the customers were apparently contacted directly. Now, Chronicle Collectibles claim it wasn't their fault and blamed storage and transport issues in some press release or something. I will level with you. I am offering this correction because my account of events was inaccurately based on the initial reports, and I was incorrect in failing to make a distinction between the two different helmets. Regarding the rest of the narrative, I will however say this revised account is pretty much based on statements from one of the involved parties, i.e. Chronicle Collectibles, and we only had their word that it was only 32 helmets and everything was somebody else's fault. In this case, some random undisclosed third party after they left their facility. This roughly equates to someone who is potentially being sued for toxic helmets said it wasn't me, governor, it was that mug over there. They are claiming that they were perfectly fine when the helmets left them, but somehow developed mould due to improper transit and storage. I mean, did they store them in a fucking barn? A damp cellar? Or in a flooded fucking coal mine? I'm gonna say, something about this account doesn't add up. Whenever I bought shit like this, it's always been well packaged and in shrink wrap plastic. So how the fuck did the water get into the inside of the helmet to cause the mould? If it was not wrapped in shrink wrap plastic, how did the water get inside the helmet to cause the mould whilst leaving the box perfectly fine and without signs of water damage? I watched some unboxing videos. So this shipped packed in styrofoam inside a box, maybe or maybe not wrapped in cellophane, but undoubtedly went through the postal service inside another cardboard box. Somehow, according to Chronicle Collectibles, in the few days it was in the post or being delivered by a delivery firm, water somehow penetrated a brown cardboard box, a glossy display box, snuck around the styrofoam packing and settled in for a cosy fucking nap in the lining of the helmet without getting anything else damp or water damaged. Cool story, bro. I can't claim factually to know what happened, but I will say this. I have only ever received dry mechanical goods through the post which had bizarro fucking mould issues, and they were exclusively shipped from China in a cargo container by sea, and I assume were damp when they were packed and went mouldy in the airtight container during the month they were on the high seas. If these helmets were wrapped in plastic, they would have remained dry. If not, they would have been water damaged, the most on the outside and the least on the inside. Something about this story just does not fucking stack up, unless it was like magical space alien water that snuck into the lining to seek refuge from immigration authorities. You guys make your own minds up, but personally I think these were probably outsourced abroad. Chronicle Collectibles look like a fairly good bunch of geezers, and they are prop makers and model makers, and I have no beef with them. I went to their website and some of the stuff they make looks really incredibly cool. I'm sceptical, however, that they have the spare time to bosh together over 20,000 helmets in their lunch break between making props, lightsabers and full-size models of fucking dinosaurs. Huge thanks, however, to Archangel and the viewers who brought this to my attention, because whatever I personally think about this situation and the revised story, the way I portrayed it in the last video was factually incorrect, and the pre-order collector's edition helmet was absolutely fine, apart from the fact they lied about the contents and delivered it in a fucking plastic bin bag, of course. Mould-free bin bag, but bin bag nevertheless. At least now everyone has the correct revised facts from which to draw their own cynical, skewed and hopefully pessimistic conclusions. And please everyone, genuinely keep pointing out when I make factual errors, because it keeps me honest, it keeps me on the right side of history and only encourages me to do my homework properly. Even if Bethesda did still basically sell toxic biohazardous helmets to children. Allegedly. Moving on, lots of people were asking about the games I was playing in the background in the last video. The games were Remnant from the Ashes, Death Stranding, The Division 2 pistol-only hardcore playthrough, Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC, Breath Edge, and Deep Rock Galactic. All 2019 releases, and all will be covered during the video series for better or for worse. But strangely, mostly for the better. Anyways, let's crack on with the freak show. We still have a few more bearded ladies to talk about before we can move on to the good stuff. Worst microtransactions of 2019. Any discussion of microtransactions in 2019 must come with the following caveat. There is no fucking way these awards can be comprehensive or exhaustive. You could make an entire mini-series just dealing with mobile game microtransactions and their horrible abuses. It would be a very depressing series, mind you, and I'm talking worse than that part in Lost, when you realised they were just making this shit up as they went along and you had wasted the last week binge-watching what was essentially a fuck pile of nonsense which had no cohesive message or deeper meaning about the nature of existence. Yes, I'm talking JJ, I Ruined Star Trek and Star Wars, Abraham's level of soul-crushingly fucking depressing. In his defence though, JJ did produce Fringe, so for now, he is free to go. But there will be a reckoning. So in this video I will confine the nominations to the microtransactions that came onto my radar that I thought particularly worthy of a mention in what is mostly AAA games. Those of you familiar with the channel know my many reasons for hating microtransactions, but here is the Brody's Notes version for new visitors. If I pay for a game, I don't then want to be handed a dinner menu with hundreds or even thousands of pounds worth of additional side orders that are being withheld from me. If I pay for a game, I don't want to be obliged to participate in gambling to get the in-game content I want, and frankly paid for. If I pay for a game, I don't want content artificially gated behind fucking paywalls. If I pay for a game, give me the whole game, because I fucking paid for it. Not difficult, really. So don't say, if you don't like them, don't buy them, because it's not that simple. Most of the time it's a case of, if you don't buy them, you have a shittier time as punishment for not putting your hand in your pocket. Frequently, game publishers are now making the gaming experience more grindy or unpleasant to force people to pay extra money for XP boosters or pay extra money because they made it too hard to earn the stuff without being a sweaty basement dwelling no-lifing gold farmer. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that's fair, right? If I order a pie and chips, I should get pie and chips. I shouldn't get a plate with a bottom crust on it, then get told I need to gamble with loot boxes until I win a fucking pie filling, and then maybe win some fucking gravy, and pay an extra shitty surcharge of £1 per chip. I think that is reasonable to get the whole meal I paid for, and I don't want to pay for cutlery either, you AAA felch monkeys. I don't mind paid DLC expansions if they're fair and done well. I don't mind paying for good gameplay. Fallout New Vegas, Skyrim, Frostpunk, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Witcher 3 all had additional paid content, which added to the experience and was a worthwhile transaction. I will buy that shit until the cows come home and be perfectly happy about it too. What I mind is video game publishers using a video game as a mechanism to milk money out of gamers, and especially when this involves pernicious mechanisms like gambling mechanics. I don't think it's edgy or controversial to pay for something and demand that I get it. Sadly, however, that is the narrative that video game publishers would like to paint for us. If you don't want to be ripped off, you're toxic, problematic, you're a hater, or a clickbait content creator. Well, I shit on anyone that sells that party line. I shit on them, and I shit on their fucking pets too. Okay, I'll spare the pets. Frankly, I feel sorry for the pets. The poor pets have to live with AAA publishers. That must be punishment enough. But putting all this angst and vitriol aside, let's unbolt the doors and take a jolly stroll through this Victorian asylum of insane monetisation and see just how crazy can get. Here are the nominations for Worst Microtransactions of 2019. An honorary mention needs to go to, well, pretty much every AAA publisher for pretty much every game released in 2019. But particular scorn has to be poured onto games like Anthem, Division 2 and Fallout 76 for simply committing the cardinal sin of monetising their product before it even fucking worked. It's taken the piss to serve up a dysfunctional, unfinished substandard product which launches with finely polished and fully functioning in-game monetisation. I see this time and time again, shitty donkey cart games with Rolls fucking Royce in-game stores. It doesn't matter how bad or how mild the microtransactions are, the point is that it's taking the piss when the only project team that managed to hit their targets on time for the launch are the monetisers. This situation speaks to me. It speaks to me and it says that the only team which was adequately staffed, funded and supported and performed on task and on time was the monetisers, which means they either had a blank cheque, but almost certainly more likely they got whatever funding they required, even if it was drawn from the pot of game development funds. Whenever I see these situations, I assume the game itself suffered as a whole because the funding priority was the microtransactions. It's ridiculous. It would be like going to the cinema and being told the film projector doesn't work, but instead of giving you a refund, they tell you that you have to sit the fuck back down so they can try and sell you popcorn for 90 minutes. Shit deal, fuckers. Very, very shit deal. But enough of the generic habitual offenders, let's take a look at some of the more exotic crimes that we need to investigate, which came to light in 2019. A full-blown nomination goes to Tom Clancy's The fucking Division 2. Oh lord, here we go again. The Division 2 is yet another one of those games that claims you can earn everything for free in-game. Well, breaking news, Fubarsoft. Some of us gamers had better things to do than come online for hours every single damn day to grind the shit out of this shit just to win shit. The Division 2 is still broken, boring, and missing huge chunks of promised overhyped content. Yet somehow they have a silky, smooth, beautifully refined in-game monetization system that works better and is more sophisticated than butterfly doors on a fucking McLaren F1. The Division 2 has only 15% of the amount of free cosmetic items that the first game had. Yes, that's right, they stripped out 85% of the free stuff that you can loot for free. Now you have to get your stuff from the constant barrage of time-gated, time-limited, algorithm-throttled loot box events. And if you don't get all the items in time, you're screwed. You either stick your hand in your pocket and pay real cash money, or run out of time. A few weeks ago, however, PedoSoft decided to double down on this and started selling catch-up pedo caches, so you can pay cash money to cap the items you missed. Pseudo randomly in loot boxes, of course. Probably giving you all the padding items like shitgun skins first. All this did was confirm that the whole point of the time-limited events was to try and force cash-rich but time-poor players into credit card abuse. Even more cynically, they have tried to rebrand cosmetic items and loot box sales as, and I quote, apparel events, and they call loot boxes le apparel caches. Wankers. Because they don't like people talking about loot boxes and want to sanitise the optics. Well, I can start calling dumpster fires magical metal fairy light boxes, but it is still, veritably, very definitely a fucking dumpster fire, just like the Division 2, strangely enough. The Division 2 has now become the grand master of FOMO, where the entire game exists for the sole purpose of creating time pressure to grind loot boxes for no logical reason other than they will disappear according to a preset time limit. This game is the cart that pushes the horse. It's not a game which has loot boxes, it's a loot box store that has a semi-functional game. Don't believe me? Then watch this.
What we do here at the start of the show is make sure that we get through everything you need to know before we get into the other stuff. We'll be talking to Yannick and Drew about some upcoming things very soon. But let's hit it with the priority alerts for today. All right, so there was a maintenance yesterday, cool. Back-end changes and the introduction of a new apparel cache. 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 Legacy cache. We'll talk about that in just a sec. Yep. Actually, that's kind of the main thing. Let's talk about it now. Actually, that's kind of the main thing. Let's talk about it now. Actually, that's kind of the main thing. Actually, that's kind of the main thing. What can you tell us about the legacy cache? Because there are a few different caches. I think a lot of people can sometimes be a little bit confused about the differences between them. Yep. Where does the legacy cache fit into the whole cachescape? Cachescape. Cachescape. Cachescape.
Well, the idea with the legacy cache is just how can we provide another way for people to acquire some vanity items.
There you go. Priority alerts. The only real priority is the loot boxes. These little shits can't sort out the second raid, deliver proper content, or fix the fucking game, but they can roll out increasingly sinister waves of loot box events with the creepy enthusiasm and precision of a Japanese high school marching band. Sadly, however, the game itself is about as functional as a Japanese high school drunk. These guys lie to us every week, and after 3 years of these gobshy antics, most people have grown wise to hearing the same old tired and well-worn, disproved bullshit excuses for why a multi-billion-dollar corporation can't bum-fumble their way to fixing one fucking game. Ever. Ubisoft should be ashamed of itself. They release promotional videos promoting the company's child-centric values on one hand, whilst shoehorning gambling into their games with the other. And let's not ever forget that the one bug the Division franchise has never suffered from is the ability to pay for things in-game. Even though sometimes receiving the goods didn't happen for weeks, but they still kept letting people pay whilst they fixed the non-delivery issues. bastards. The Division 2 is a pox on Ubisoft's house, just like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which we will definitely be discussing later. Fallout 76. I must genuinely apologise that I have to even mention this heinous game yet again. Jesus fucklord on a tricycle. Fallout 76 is starting to feel like that shithead nightmare family relative that everyone hates. You know the guy, whenever there's a get together or a night out, you never invite him because you know they'll fuck it up. But sure enough, every time there's a family do, somehow he finds out about it and gate crashes the party and ruins everyone's fun, causes a fight and smashes something. Then he apologises and swears it will never happen again, just like he said last week and the week before that. That's Fallout 76 in a nutshell. I would rather the game didn't exist at this point, so Bethesda would stop doing stupid things, so we could shut the fuck up about it. However, yes, Fallout 70 fuck has to be nominated for constantly and relentlessly remonetising their dogshit product. They made it pay to win and broke their promises to the players. They are reselling in-game assets from Fallout 4 and now they have a premium subscription model. If I could sum up Fallout 76 in one sentence, it would be this. Dear Lord, please someone make the bad men stop! Look, if your mate gets drunk at a party and pisses himself, it's funny. But then you pick him up and get him home safely. Nobody wants to spend the whole party standing there watching the same mate piss himself repeatedly all night and then have the same thing happen at the next party forever. Fallout 76 is beyond a joke now. Can it please leave? Off you fuck. On your way. We are all officially tired of standing there watching Fallout 76 piss itself on the sofa. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Ubisoft was hell-bent on destroying its share value and reputation in 2019, and worried that the Division 2 might not be a big enough turd in the swimming pool, they decided to get a chili con carne addicted Ebola victim in a state of total hemorrhagic organ meltdown and throw them into the swimming pool too. Perhaps hoping that the sum totality of thrashing, shitting, dying outbleed would somehow camouflage the precise nature of their almost total video production meltdown, even if it would not conceal the scale of the issue. Everything is literally a microtransaction in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I shit you not. Despite the game being full of the usual crapola, multiple currencies, stuff you earn, stuff you pay for with real cash, and all that smoke and mirrors, there was one critical point that defines this game. You could buy premium currency with your credit card and use that to buy in-game currency. This means that technically every single damn thing in the game is a fucking microtransaction. You could literally buy anything with cash, and you could pretty much buy it anywhere too. I pointed out in my Far Cry 5 review that Ubisoft had made every single vendor a pedo vendor that sold in-game microtransactions, but that wasn't enough for Ubisoft. Now even a campfire turns into a magical teleporting TARDIS-like shop. Not kidding. Every single place in the game where you can set up a camp magically lets you go shopping. Seriously, if you want an attack helicopter or an armoured car, campfires sell them now. Those Boy Scouts are clearly industrious little fucks. And let's not forget that initially you could also go and buy levelling up and perk points. Holy fuck, is nothing sacred. They shat the bed over the XP boosters and the perk microtransactions and quickly withdrew them because of complaint. Clearly inspired by Bethesda's lies about a world canvas shortage, they figured, hey, we can do really incredibly bad lying better than Todd Little Eyes Howard, so they pretended it was an accident. Yes, Ubisoft pretended that releasing XP boosters and selling perk points was an oopsie and got released too early by accident. Considering you can't have a quick wank in the bogs at Ubisoft Paris without running permission upwards through 17 tiers of management and getting written sign-off by the legal department, I am somewhat sceptical that they launched an extremely sophisticated monetization scheme by fucking accident. Besides, the fact they never returned them to the game ever because of the huge fucking backlash speaks volumes. Ubisoft needs to fuck off with its time savers. They throttle down XP, throttle down the cash you earn, then open up a shop selling progress and money. Fuck these guys. We have had surprise mechanics. We have had world canvas bag shortages. Now Ubisoft has experienced accidental extreme in-game monetization. I can see a theme here. And that theme is brazen, large-scale, whopping lies. Maybe, just fucking maybe, in 2020 Ubisoft might wrap its head around the concept that people don't go shopping for video games just so they can go shopping in video games, for the content of the game that they already paid for when they bought it. We don't want shopping simulators, we want good games. And they need to have that moment of clarity very, very quickly before it's too late. NBA 2K20 hits the slots. Just fucking wow. At this point, anyone who claims that loot boxes are not gambling is either a fucking genetically engineered special hybridized mutant form of cretin, a shamefaced fucking liar, self-delusional, or being paid to say so. By a AAA publisher, no doubt. I'm not claiming these categories are mutually exclusive. I've witnessed firsthand people either shilling or working for AAA publishers who were also delusional fucking cretins. But my point is, when governments think it's gambling, psychologists express concern about loot boxes addicting children to gambling, and AAA publishers are recruiting people with experience with online gambling, I think this little debate is finally settled. They are hiring gambling specialists to help them with loot box mechanics. What more fucking proof do you need? Do you need them to drop a cunting casino on your house before you get the memo? Anyone at this point that thinks loot boxes are not precisely structured upon and a reskinned version of gambling is either too stubborn or too stupid to ever get the memo. And if they did get the memo, they would undoubtedly be too much of a fucktard to be able to read it. Nevertheless, it was a spectacular act of hubris for NBA 2K20 to literally build an in-game casino where you gambled on loot boxes. Unfucking believable. But this giant shit pie came with extra bum gravy, because not only did they try and get away with it, but Peggy defended them. Yes, the industry regulators that are supposed to keep a lid on this kind of shit. This is why a greedy, amoral industry can't self-regulate, by setting up regulatory bodies which they fund, so everyone working there basically owes their job to people like EA and Activision. When other industries completely self-regulate, bridges collapse, planes fall out of the sky. Why would this be different? Peggy, the sham, corrupt, ineffectual shill gatekeepers of the gaming industry, serving the overlords of loot boxes, surprise, surprise, decided to support NBA 2K20 and defend them against charges of gambling. A game that by any standards launched half broken, comes with in-game gambling loot boxes that actually are presented as slot machines in a fucking casino, and the industry regulator, paid in part by said company, surprise, defends them. There you go, Peggy, run by the Interactive Software Federation of Europe, which is paid for by, amongst other people, the fucking publisher. Follow the fucking money. And it's pretty self-evident why the video game industry is racing this train off the cliff. Call of Duty COD Blops 4.
More dots, more dots, more dots. Come on, more dots. Who the fuck was that? What the fuck?
Yes, Activision literally was selling a red dot reticule, literally a few dots on your screen for $1, on top of all of the rest of the horrendous microtransactions. They literally had it all: battle passes, microtransactions, XP boosters, loot boxes, the whole 9 yards. Fuck these guys when it comes to microtransactions. I actually found the game itself to be a rather pleasant affair. Well, my idea of pleasant is hiding in ventilation ducts, sniping at skilled players with a giant pink rocket launcher, and generally annoying everyone because I'm a skillless fuck. But the game itself I surprisingly enjoyed playing. In its defence, at least the monetization was so obvious, stupid and offensive, people thought it was horrible. Christ alive, even people at Treyarch broke ranks and complained about it. And credit to them for that. But the winner of Worst Microtransactions of 2019 goes to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. When I reviewed Call of Duty Modern Warfare, a noble and well-meaning fanboy of Infinity Ward blasted me in the comments section because I had the gall to predict and foreshadow impending monetization. They passionately decried my assumptions and valiantly shouted that Infinity Ward would never do that. This Call of Duty will be different. Infinity Ward hates microtransactions. They won't let it happen. And strangely enough, here we are, a matter of months later, talking about this year's winner. Credit to that guy for standing up for his favourite developer. He is not the loser here. Infinity Ward are, and gamers as a whole are the losers. Infinity Ward or not, thanks to Activision, Modern Warfare is already just a matter of months after launch, so shit infested with monetization that I couldn't actually work out how the multi-tiered battle pass system worked at first, and what was a unique and what was an earnable reward, although later I realised you can just buy unlocks to the earnable stuff anyways. Look, when a video game has so much monetization that you need to watch a guide to understand how it all works, there is too much monetization. The Call of Duty franchise is the typhoid Mary of microtransactions. Every year they roll out some new form of pedo-cash shitfest that spoils what would otherwise be an above-averagely average game. It's a given, it's a fundamental law of the universe. Call of Duty is a microtransactional midget orgy of the highest order. Let's just assume that Call of Duty, in whatever form it takes, will be nominated every year until the sands of time scrub the evidence of humanity from the face of the earth. Because Activision. The monetization in Modern Warfare is so bad precisely because it appears so benign, but is actually incredibly pernicious. It is very cunningly designed so that Activision can claim that there are no loot boxes, you can earn everything in game. I'm assuming if you play 23 hours a day in a basement electronic sweatshop. Modern Warfare monetization works something like this. Deliberate confusion in the menus, deliberate delinking of in-game currency amounts with real-world monetary value. Time pressure. It constantly generates FOMO and anxiety. It offers challenges to get free stuff. It offers paid solutions to help accelerate completing the challenges. It has nagging and ever-present advertising. Little worthless free gift notifications that are either not there or you can't find them in the tricky menu to get you to constantly stumble around the confusing store. Then you see other stuff you like, then get dragged into a game, then can't find it afterwards, and this all generates this feeling of, fuck, perhaps I should just buy the damn thing in case it disappears or I can't find it next time. And on top of that, when you do buy something, the store automatically replaces that empty space on the shelf with a new bundle of microtransactions. It creates this invirtuous circle where you are constantly running on the hamster wheel, trying to cap challenges and get that next rung up the ladder of the season pass, whilst being offered solutions to your problems in the in-game store for those multi-stage mission challenges you're doing at the same time. Now some people will say, it's not pay to win, but I would call bullshit on that, because I've done it. I paid to win. Most of the guns improve vastly with high tier attachments, particularly things like long barrels that hugely improve damage range. Well, imagine choosing between a stock gun and one that has the best perk unlocked, and a couple of mid-tier attachments thrown in. It's a huge advantage. Buy it and then backfill the rest of the weapon mods on the fly. It is pay to win, for fuck's sake. I think we all need to be very cautious at this point. The gaming community has wised up to the sinister practices of AAA monetization, and they are shifting strategy accordingly. So whilst the hilarious over-the-top monetization of NBA 2K20 is an incredibly ostentatious example of monetization and in-game gambling, that shit is doomed to fail because it's too damn obvious. What is much more insidious is the wolf in sheep's clothing. As Kaiser Soze said, the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing you he didn't exist. Although technically that quote comes from Baudelaire. Not to be confused with Baudrillard. You read Baudelaire if you want to get fucked, you read Baudrillard if you want to get mind fucked. But my point is, modern warfare monetization is so bad precisely because it's structured in such a way as to appear benign, passive, and avoid any controversy for doing anything obvious. It doesn't do anything you can make a headline with. Whilst all the while, a combination of multi-layered psychological tools are deployed against a player to keep guiding them towards spending, and behind the scenes the manipulated matchmaking is unconsciously pushing you towards caving in and spending money. And it doesn't stop there. God knows what other devious, invisible behind the scenes throttling and manipulation is going on that we can't see and measure and prove. Activision's creepy and devious patents are well documented and legion. This kind of monetization will lead to a world where you can never really trust your in-game experience, because you don't know how much of your in-game experience and performance is real and how much is being manipulated to guide your unconscious spending behaviour. Call of Duty Modern Warfare wins worst microtransactions of 2019. And their prize is a biohazard sticker, so that hopefully they'll start putting it as a warning on all of their fucking video games from now on. Well played. A channel supporter once said to me, "It's all fun and games until the suits turn up." And this is so true. With many industries, they start out with a fairly pure purpose, but at some point, the MBAs and business managers show up and say, "Hey, we can make more money here, and all we have to do is screw over the customers for every penny they have, by fair means or foul." Sadly, when they run out of fair ways of doing it, they automatically pile straight in and start using the foul techniques. We see these trajectories in other industries too. Cinema used to be about great movies. Now it's about popcorn sales. YouTube used to be about YouTubers. Now it's about the paying clients. Christmas used to be about family and friends. Now it's about shopping. The video games industry is a temple that needs cleansing. I am in grave danger in sounding optimistic when I say this, but I am starting to see small signs that this process is starting to happen. In the last few years I have noticed a huge raising of awareness within the gaming community and a growing intolerance for industry bullshit. I have seen gamers, time and time again, admit that they were suckered, but they have had their moment of clarity and refuse to participate in games that resort to predatory and anti-consumer practices. We have let community managers, official forums and corrupt subreddits control gaming communities and tell us how we should think and feel about monetization, loot boxes and unfinished games. Inch by inch they have wrestled control away from us, and by not being outraged, by not fighting back and by just letting it happen, we have given away our consumer power and our own public discourse, and we have allowed corporations to steal them from us. It warms the very fucking cockles of my heart to see gamers relentlessly and methodically start deconstructing the lies and wresting back control. And yes, for those of you who know your Alan Moore, I am paraphrasing. But for now, good luck and happy hunting.